the other side is making a very legitimate argument about the right to due process if you get processed and shipped out of the country and put in a prison in El Salvador. Was it Benjamin Franklin's quote about innocent, and that it's better to allow 10 guilty people to go free than one innocent person arrested? You know, I'm on that side of things.
Yeah.
That's I think due process exists for a reason, and the reason is...
I told you, this is how it begins. There's only so much insanity that even the ape man and his supporters are going to take. This is how the process begins. The process of discontent begins amongst the ranks, amongst those in the margins who go, maybe this wasn't the best decision. I still like Trump. I think he can restore order here and right this wrong.
We have to make sure that these people are actually guilty. Otherwise, we become monsters. You can't, like, what is that? When you fight monsters, be careful that you don't become one.
Become one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very important. But also, you also have to deal with the fact that the current administration is dealing with the past administration allowing known...
He's in the bargaining phase. I'm telling you, what you're watching is the bargaining phase of the process. He's like, oh, well, you know, all the previous lies that Trump told me that caused me to vote for him, I have to maintain are real and true, right? Otherwise, I have to recognize my mistake. Yeah, he's going through it.
Gang members and terrorists to go right through the border unchecked, that a lot of them they know got through. They don't know the exact numbers, but they know there's millions and millions of people illegally just walk through unchecked, and a bunch of them have to have criminal records. A bunch of them have to be dangerous, and we've seen crimes that have been committed. It doesn't help anybody on the progressive side to deny the fact that that's a real problem. And if it happens to your family, God forbid, I don't want it to happen to anybody's, but if it does, you will feel a sting of regret if you supported that.
Vibe shift is already beginning. The apolitical Trump dick riders are now souring on at least some of the aspects. Why did it happen? How do we get here? What did I tell you? If there is enough counter messaging on the cruelty of these actions and the media starts covering it because Democrat leadership is making a big fuss about it, then people are going to be more aware of the actual impact, the actual consequences of these decisions. Americans are very malleable. This is why I was constantly screaming from the rooftops, they're like, Democrats, do something, say something. The is wrong with you? And here it is. And this isn't like, there will be ups and downs. They're not regretful of their vote yet. And they might never be regretful of their vote. But there are people in Joe's audience that will look at this and go, yeah, maybe this isn't the best fucking idea. Because it's not. Because it's a genuinely dangerous precedent. I'm glad that I'm at least vindicated for once in the right direction, where I said, if Democrats start making a big fuss about this and the media starts adequately covering the fucking cruelty of this deportation regime, then people are going to start souring on the mass deportation protocols. And lo and behold, that's what happened. That's exactly what's going on right now. This is just the beginning. It's going to get worse. No one from this point on is going to turn around and be like, no, actually, it's fine. It's actually cool. Yeah, it's really fucked up. There will be Republicans that say it's cruel, unusual punishment. It's Holocaust style concentration camps, and I like it. But there are plenty of people in the margins that will not like this. And this isn't just about democracy or the democratic process or whether or not they'll ever vote for Trump again. I don't even know if there will be another election at this point. But the only way to stop that from happening is if there is an alternative out there, an alternative that speaks to the anger and resentment that a lot of people are experiencing, and an alternative that actually speaks to the dangers of this administration with great focus on the individuals that are being harmed in this process to generate stories that people can identify with. That's why I keep maintaining the position that although 90% of those who were unjustly deported to the CCOT facility have done nothing wrong and were along their process of getting either temporary protected status that they had already or going through the court asylum application process, and they were falsely deported to this torture slave labor camp. The one that everyone is talking about is Abrego Garcia. The reason why they're talking about this is because the administration fucked up and admitted to wrongdoing. I will take that anywhere I can get. I've explained to you already that these things take time, but public sentiment shifting in this dramatic of a way will either push the contradictions to its ultimate demise, where there's gonna be a moment where this breaks, okay? Either it will break and the admin, in an effort to retain a theoretical democratic process, will capitulate to the mob, or they will start a harder enforcement mechanism, a more fascist enforcement mechanism, which will cause people to fight back. That's why I'm talking about public perception here. Before you guys say, why does public perception matter? Of course it matters. Public perception always matters. It matters in the short term, as we seemingly still have a democratic process, and it will matter in the long term as well. Let's say the admin says, you, protesting is now illegal. People start getting locked up for protesting. That is the breaking point. At that point, it's just like you're gonna see people taking matters in their own hands. What a lot of people don't understand is voting is a pressure valve. Theoretical democracy is a pressure valve. It is a way for people to feel like they have a say in the process. If there is no pressure valve, if there is no release, this will implode. You cannot maintain authoritarian control over 330 million people that are gadded out the wazoo, okay? People say, oh, the military, they got drones or whatever, but ultimately, the military is people too. They're still part of the people. They got family members. They got their own personal opinions. That's how coups happen.
But if I was going to try to destroy America, that's how I would do it.
Yeah.
I'd take over the political process, impart censorship on all the social media, like gaslight people to no end, consistently do it, AstroTurf stadiums filled with people pretending they support something, pay them to be there, manufacture a movement, and slowly but surely bring chaos to all the cities. Allow DAs to get elected that are the worst when it comes to protecting people and the best when it comes to freeing violent criminals. And that's really their goal. And they can do it. They could just use words like racial justice and like just send murderers back out into the streets. You just create chaos. Defund the police. Defund.
Dude, what? It's so funny because the underlying sentiment that Joe Rogan is demonstrating here is a hallmark of the Republican Party, which is to fucking lie about that isn't happening in an effort to get your ridiculous agenda across successfully. And it's not that he's close, because he's literally doing that right now in defense of the Republican Party. This notion that like people are being sent home after doing like rapes and murders because they're undocumented migrants is so stupid that if I heard someone say this to me in the wild, I would probably immediately call their family members and be like, your immediate family member is experiencing a stroke. You need to come down here. You need to pick him up because he can't drive a fucking vehicle. He is a danger to himself and others. He is very obviously experiencing a fucking stroke. It's so insane that this is the underlying basis for why the Republicans must be so aggressive with combating immigration. Because why? One, they're doing rapes and murders every day 100,000 times a year. Not true. It's just literally not true, okay? What a psychotic thing that they're claiming. The only evidence that's out there that is readily available for all to see is the exact opposite of this. It's the evidence that shows that this is incorrect. There's no evidence for the statement whatsoever. And number two, the idea that like under the Biden leadership, our court system would look at a bloodthirsty rapist serial killer and go, oh my God, are you from El Salvador? Oops, can't deport you. You're free to go, sir. Please go out and rape and murder more Americans. Like that's if this is genuinely what you believe, you are hallucinating. And previously when someone said like this, they'd be on top of a soapbox outside of a goddamn subway station and people would just be throwing coins their way to be like, all right, big guy, you know, I hope you can, you know, buy something fun with this. Now you get to be fucking Joe Rogan and make $250 million a year entertaining these insane statements. And those insane statements are not even something that you came up with in a paranoid schizophrenic attack, but instead it's you regurgitating what the administration has said while they were campaigning successfully for office and has continued saying since they assumed the role of the presidency. What the is going on? No wonder so many people that we know that we exist with in our day-to-day existence are fucking psychotic at this point. Ask anyone that you know that entertains these kinds of insanities. Are you telling me that the previous administration, under the Biden administration, you genuinely think when someone did a rape or murder and they were found to be an undocumented migrant that they just released that person? Like, just think, close your eyes for a brief moment and try to imagine that world where some fucking judge, 75-year-old white dude is from, appointed during the Reagan administration, goes, oh my God, you're Guatemalan? Well, that means you get multiple free rapes. Like a fucking Subway punch card. Come back when you filled 10 rapes. Like, that's what you think is going on. They're just letting drug dealer, serial killers go free, roam free. And the cops are also a part of this, by the way. The brave, bold, beautiful piglets, the boys in the blue, they also are powerless in the face of these woke judges who are letting rape murderers go free because they're undocumented. If you believe this, I can trick you into believing anything.
Constantly have them fighting over political issues. Let's get rid of Roe v. Wade. They're a little too happy right now. Get rid of Roe v. Wade, and the liberals are up in arms. How you mother... Which was, getting rid of Roe v. Wade was actually a good move if you were a Democrat, because then people get upset and then they really want to vote. Like, you could probably ignite a lot of people. You would try to get rid of the Second Amendment. Second Amendment, we're going to get rid of all guns. Oh, the fucking gun guys, get up for the Republicans. And then, you would say, we need open borders because we need, our society is population collapse. And they were starting to say things like that. And we need, who's going to pick cotton? They're essentially marketing it because they're saying Americans don't want these jobs, so we have to bring people in to pick our crops. Who's going to clean?
All right. It's time for Matt Christman's famous Zen fascism take. Because what Joe Rogan is demonstrating right here is exactly what Matt Christman famously identified on an acid trip to CPAC. Joe Rogan identifies the hypocrisies of the Democratic Party very clearly, and yet you would think he would directionally be against that and also against the Republican Party. No. In a way, Joe Rogan is more honest than the average liberal. This is true. Let's watch.
The social event of CPAC, a Benny Johnson creation. This is his new job as Toilet Paper USA's creative director. Someone forwarded us the invite. It was called the America Fest.
America Fest.
And the actual email was just like a night of bourbon, beer, and bacon. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah. I felt like bone deep despair. I was feeling like Reverend Toller. Now, I was on some like Maoist third world shit where I was just thinking like, oh, we're all on the same side. These guys aren't my enemy, really. I mean, we're all.
This is important. This is the point. This is, I think, an incredibly important point to understand.
Now, I was on some like Maoist third world shit where I was just thinking like, oh, we're all on the same side. These guys aren't my enemy, really. I mean, we're all in the imperial core. We're all the exploiters. Like, we're the bad guys in this story. We need to be destroyed. Like, no disentangling me from them. We are all accountable for this. No, I felt deep despair. And I also finally got the concept of Zen fascism. These guys have embraced like a Buddhist concept of nihilism, where it's just, look, we found ourselves by total random fact of fate to have been born at the end of this imperial moment. We have access to this incredible bounty of exploitation, of the bounties of exploitation, and we're gonna fucking use it and have fun. You're also in the same boat as us. You were born in the same situation. You have access to this same bounty. Why don't you just enjoy it? Yeah, everything's going to die. Everyone's going to die. Sure, it's not sustainable, but we're going to be the last to die, so why don't enjoy it? Why fight against it? And I actually finally got the point of all of that hypocrisy mongering that Republicans do, where they say, oh, you drive a car. Oh, you use a cell phone. It's not to try to get you in some petty hypocritical gotcha. It's to say, we're all in this together. We're all on the same side. Why don't you just enjoy it? Why are you torturing yourself? Why are you like,
oh, this is actually bad, and oh no, we're exploiting all these people.
Yeah, but that can't change it. You're in this situation. Just eat the fucking slider, drink the goddamn beer, and enjoy yourself. Trigger the libs. Have fun. Because they always have that voice in their head, and that's why they need to trigger libs all the time. They need to push it out. They've embraced this nihilism, but they also know what they've done, and so it's never going to be actually fun. They're never going to really be able to be decadent. They're never really going to be able to be purely hedonistic. They need to have an enemy that they can smite at any.
Yeah, this is exactly what Asma's audience is. Yeah, 100%. And this is still very much what's going on. The notion that these guys are just like, dude, why the are you complaining about all this Shut up. You're in it too. That's what Joe Rogan is doing here, where he's like, oh, well, the Democrats are just like, they're salivating at the prospect of abortion rights being taken away so they can fundraise off of it. They can campaign off of it. Like, yeah, he gets it. He's not wrong. That's true. That's a true statement. But the problem is, he looks at that, he recognizes that reality, and then turns around and votes for Donald Trump and endorses Donald Trump, who's doing the exact same thing. Because he's like, yeah, might as well enjoy the show. Might as well enjoy the ride. It's yielded tremendous fucking bounty for me, Joe Rogan. $250 million a year in Spotify deals, Porsche car collection, all of that. I got it all. What am I supposed to do? Shit talk this system? Care about poor people? Why the fuck would I? They adore me. People mob me. Wherever I go, I'm Joe Rogan. I'm the richest comedian out there without a single coherent or decent comedy special. He gets it. This attitude is why they think you're grifting too. Yeah, but the people that think I'm grifting think Joe Rogan is not. That's the irony. And it's also partially the reason why they like Donald Trump, because Donald Trump says it like it is, right? Donald Trump's like, yep, I don't care about anything. I love money. I love money in my pocket. And everyone's like, hell yeah, he's so honest. It's like Donald Trump could come out and be like, I'm fucking you over every day, you disgusting little monsters. I hate all of you. And they'd be like, yes, sir, I am your piglet. Keep giving me that steady flow of garbage. I think this is a person that has killed it and recognizes the tremendous bounty that he's gotten within the system, within the structure, and wants it to continue. And therefore, there's a semblance of honesty behind it. The dishonesty comes from people wanting to be like him. The dishonest nature of Joe Rogan is the notion that like he presents this veneer of success as like somehow attainable. I'm just like you. So people look up to him and think if they embody Joe Rogan, they will be Joe Rogan one day. They will not be Joe Rogan. And people would rather be lied to than to be told the cold hard truth. And that's why so many people get mad at me and say I'm a goddamn grifter, when if I was doing what Joe Rogan has been doing this whole time, they'd fucking love it. It's something I realized where like it's basically this idea where people constantly are coming up to me in the chat and saying, dude, why don't you say capitalism is good and that one day I can get exactly what you have gotten for yourself? What the is wrong with you? I'm sincerely curious. Why haven't you aggressively pushed for to get on JRE? No, Joe Rogan will never have me on. I've criticized him way too much.
The overcorrection is like round them all up, ship them to jail. Like that's like some things that you say when you're not thinking things through. Like, what do you do about all the criminals? Take them all, send them to El Salvador.
Yeah.
What about due process? No, that. But here's the problem with that. What if you are an enemy of, let's not say any current president. Let's pretend we got a new president, totally new guy in 2028. And this is a common practice now of just rounding up gang members with no due process and shipping them to El Salvador. You're a gang member. No, I'm not. Prove it. What? I got to go to court. No,
Yeah.
No due process.
Every single dumb that's come into my chat over the past couple of weeks where I tried to explain to them why you must have due process, hopefully will understand it now that Joe Rogan has explained it with virtually the same exact example.
I feel like it's manipulated. And again, if you wanted to turn us into China, and what I mean by that is a country that's facial recognition everywhere, social credit score system that's attached.
We have that, Joe. We have that. And we're also doing the thing that you're complaining about right now. As a matter of fact, the guy who's doing it is a guy that you hugged 2 days ago. We have credit scores. We have mass surveillance. You used to know these things. We used to glaze Alex Jones for being prophetic, being a prophetic voice that recognized the surveillance state before anyone else did. That was the reason why you liked Alex Jones.
If you make anything online that's against the government, you could be disappeared, you could be locked up, You could be made a political prisoner. You know, this is fun.
It felt like we were heading that
This
way.
is good. I'm glad that he's fucking recognizing this, because this is what conservatives would constantly complain about. This is their suspicion as to what the Democrats were up to. You know, they'd always turn around and be like, this is what the Democrats want to do. The demon rats. They want to fucking put us in FEMA camps. They want to put us in FEMA facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't put an end to this right now, it's going to a scary path. And it's like, well, dude, Trump is actually doing it and saying he's doing it, and also constantly saying, what the fuck are you going to do about it? And it took him this long to recognize the impact.
It was Duncan that said this about Ukraine and Russia. He was like, do you realize, like, the Russians that we're killing by sending over arms and money to fund the Ukrainians? Not saying that we shouldn't do this, but he's saying that a lot of those guys are being forced to go to the front line. And a lot of those guys are prisoners who get released in order to fight. So what if you're a prisoner because you wrote a bad tweet against Putin and they lock you up, and then all of a sudden Ukrainians are killing you with American weapons because you tweeted bad against Putin? So it's Putin's way of, like, eliminating any dissent.
It's weird. He's getting there. There's a semblance of humanity here. He's not wrong. It's just arriving at the correct point while taking the weirdest route possible. I don't know.
The UK is getting in on it full steam ahead. The UK is arresting people for anything that makes people uncomfortable online. They show up at your house and just fucking arrest you. They've arrested, like, how many people have been arrested in the UK for social media posts in the last year?
Please, you have to tie this back to America, right? Please, you're an American. Also, I think it's like 1 or something. And that's not because the social media post, but because they had like a minor fine and they wanted to make a political statement about not paying said fine, for the record. That's how this usually goes. It's not like you're black bagged and it's over. It's like you played a role in the race riots that took place in the UK, and then they wanted to fine you for it or something, or they wanted to jail you for a short period of time, specifically because you actively were, you know, getting people to go out and try to stab random Muslims or burn fucking mosques and like straightforwardly a hate crime that you agitated for. Whereas in America, you say, hey, I don't think our tax dollars should go to the baby murder machine that is Israel, and you get fucking black bagged in the middle of the night. That's all. That's all it takes for this administration to be like, nope, done, kidnapped.
This is just posts on social media, like, we need to send these illegal immigrants back. Saying shit like that.
Yeah.
You get arrested. Arrested.
That's not
hate
true.
crimes.
Even if I'm joking, even if I'm just having a...
There's no jokes.
Wow.
No jokes.
Oh my God, here we are, back to pure fantasy. Oh my Lord.
In 2023, 12,183 arrests were made across 37 police forces in the UK.
Said that a lot of people may have been arrested, but many of them were not prosecuted and were released.
But
very
it's
shortly
still
after.
right. Okay, that's cute. It's still horrifying because what you're doing is scaring people into compliance. They don't want to be arrested again, and they certainly don't want to risk being prosecuted. But they're forcing people to censor themselves.
This is correct. This is government enforcement against speech. In countries within the European Union and in Canada, and as a matter of fact, most other countries, free speech still exists. It's just the boundaries are not as expansive as the United States of America. These countries have hate speech laws. We have some laws around it. We have some laws where hate speech can be, especially in the process of a crime, can elevate the crime itself to a hate crime. Except this current administration is literally going against that right now, and not even doing it in a way where it's like, yeah, maybe we should like cut this Nazi stuff out. Maybe we should make this Nazi shit illegal. They're doing it by saying, if you criticize the foreign nation state of Israel, then you are going to have your citizenship revoked. You are going to have your legal permanent residency revoked. If there are boundaries, can it still really be considered free? I don't know, dog. Do you think that child fee should exist and freely be distributed? Answer my question very carefully. Do you? No, but that's not speech. Free expression. What are you talking about? It's a artistic expression, technically. The reason why you're looking for a way out of this argument without admitting what we both know is because speech and expression are two different things. Oh my God. Dude, you can just say, no, that's a reasonable boundary. I was wrong, actually. We both know that that is the answer to this question. It wasn't a serious question unless you want to come out as a pedophile in this chat right now. It's not happening.